All right. Yeah, I think we can start and then people will be coming in. So I don't have much to do here. I will just pass the floor to my dear colleague Ken Barrientos, who will be moderating the last session of the day today, but very interesting one for sure. We have two youth representatives on the panel again, and it's about TVET as a pathway of choice. So attractive and relevant TVET. Please, Ken.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Ken Barrientos. I also work with UNESCO-UNEVOC, currently coordinating our work on greening TVET SDGs, but also working across the different streams that UNESCO-UNEVOC is mandated to focus on. So I know that we have about 75 minutes before the closing, and here we are basically, the intention of the session is to really reinforce some of the key messages that we have also already heard from yesterday. Today, we cannot probably match the very animated session of Alessandro dealing with all the leaders, but nevertheless, it's really good to focus our attention on one key topic that has been a constant in so many conversations, not only in policy circles, but also have been discussed much about in communities, in workplaces, in the classrooms, and this is, of course, the attractiveness of TVET. So now we all know that careers in energy, healthcare, manufacturing, and construction, they are powering the digital or the twin transitions. And TVET is very much integrated and are in the fabrics of developing capacities of the workforce, of individuals, of communities, to really ensure that they can participate in the process of transitioning from something where we wanted to go from and also to become better, to implement build back better or become better societies and economies. So what is becoming clear is that these aren't just jobs that we are talking about. So when we talk about VET professions, we are also putting more emphasis on the mission-driven role of the VET profession. And there are people involved in performing the tasks, in doing the job, and these are people who are now shaping how we live, how we build, how we care, when we talk about the healthcare professionals, how we do things. So hopefully doing things in a much better way, in making sure that we are also able to preserve the environment, the ecosystems for the future generation. And yesterday, we spoke about many thought-provoking messages and issues. So one of our speakers emphasized that 6 out of 10 jobs that are in high demand in the European Union are VET professions. And this is definitely a very exciting space for TVET to really come forward and make sure that we attract more VET learners to TVET. But we also know the realities. In many countries, there's low participation. Often, some people who are not well prepared to participate, or for example, the migrants, disadvantaged communities, females, so they are still facing the challenge of participation. And how do we attract these disadvantaged groups to TVET is definitely something that we have to look into. And in the process of embracing innovation and excellence, which is the theme of this new initiative that we just launched, we also cannot forget, and this was emphasized by Boran Chakron, that education has a role to play, and education as a social contract must ensure that learning should lead to opportunities, to dignity, and also empowerment and participation. So these are all very important aspects that we want to unpack, and this session will try to spotlight all these issues surrounding VET attractiveness. But this time around, we will not focus so much on the employment and the demands of the industries, but really what the learners need. We constantly say, listen to the learners, and many of the sessions today emphasize this. And here we are. We have a very exciting panel. We have 2 members of the youth cohort also here to share their perspective. And yeah, we will be hearing from professionals and young people how we can better engage young people to TVET, and what are the needs, desires, wants, and aspirations that we can take forward and ensure that we address them through TVET. So without further ado, I would like to invite our panelists. So let me start with Mr. Alessandro Di Miceli. I hope I pronounced it correctly. He is the board member of the Organizing Bureau of European Schools Union, or OBESSU. So please take the floor, Alessandro. Next is the second youth in the panel is Ms. Hannah Siebertz. She is a trainee at the Federal Institute for Vocational Education and Training, or BIBB, here in Germany. A round of applause, welcome. And then I would like to call on Dr. Christine Howling. She is currently the Executive Dean of the General Academics Requirement at the Higher Colleges and Technology in United Arab Emirates. Welcome, please take the floor. She is also currently the project manager of one of the co-action initiatives that we are implementing with HCT. And last but not the least, another colleague from the BIBB, I would like to invite Ms. Lisa Kubitschek. She is the training coordinator and, of course, responsible for the training program that Hannah is also engaged in at BIBB. So let me take the seat. I think the perspective that our speakers will give is really very diverse, coming from different regions, and also giving a bit more context to the role that they are doing in their respective capacities. And my first question, and this is targeted to all of you, drawing on the role and the tasks that you are responsible in your organization, let us hear about your perspective, why TVET attractiveness is still an issue up to this point. If you have any data or evidences that can also give light, why is it an issue in your role? Please let us know. So let us start with Dr. Howling, please.
So there's 2 aspects that I can see. One which people have been talking about a lot, which is nation building. Basically, if TVET is not attractive, then there becomes a skill mismatch. You can't diversify your economy. The United Arab Emirates has taken steps to decrease or increase food security, so they're less reliant on external resources. But you need the same aspect when it comes to employment. If all of the population is employed in the same place, then you don't have that diversification. So that part's been talked about quite a lot. But there's also the other aspect where the youth are not gainfully employed, and so employed with jobs, but then also that they're not gainfully engaged. It's a missed opportunity. If they don't continue their education past high school, then you miss that opportunity to instill a culture, a love for lifelong learning. It's once you get past high school that you start to choose your pathway. You choose what subject you want to become. You become more competent in a specialized subject. And if people don't choose that pathway, then it's a missed chance to instill a lifelong learning, which is now essential in today's changing workplace.
Thank you. So anyone can just follow?
Yeah, thank you for the question. In my role, I see every day how important it is for TVET to be relevant and engaged. If young people think vocational training is a second choice, they may choose academic studies instead, and that leads many open training places and a shortage of skilled workers. In my daily work, I see how important it is to be motivated. And when training is modern, digital, and creative, the trainees feel more engaged. And it's also important to promote the skills of the trainees and give them the opportunity to be themselves. Companies have difficulties to finding trainees, and at the same time, young people do not find a suitable training place. And in 2024, 69,400 training positions in Germany remained unfilled. And that shows that the systems needs to become more attractive and connect to the needs of the young people.
Thank you. Now we move on to our youth panelists.
Yeah, okay, I hope you hear me. So I think that TVET attractiveness mattered because it makes sure that young people see that vocational training is an equal and promising path to build a successful career. It's about showing that practical skills and academic knowledge is both viable for our future. And I think making TVET more attractive, one point that's still missing is that we should share positive personal stories from young trainees, what you can actually experience and achieve during your traineeship. One example for me is when I was in my first year of apprenticeship, we had to do a trainee workshop where we asked to do a charity project over a couple of months. And then the question came up, who wants to be the project manager? And I wasn't sure because I thought I didn't have enough experience to take the lead. But then no one volunteered, and our head of vocational training asked if I wanted to take it on. And I agreed, and in the end, I managed the project with 2 other trainees, and it all went very well. And yeah, before this experience, I've never imagined I could take the lead on a project like this, but now I know I can, and I've learned how to organize not only myself, but also other people that are working with me, and of course an entire project. And I got also the chance to apply management tools that we've learned at school. And of course we had little problems, but we could always come to our head of vocational training and ask for help. That was really great. And yeah, I think stories like these can show the value of TVET, how it combines theoretical knowledge with work-life experience and personal development. And yeah, I think if more of those positive stories were shared with young people and also their parents, it would make vocational training much more attractive. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so hello to everyone. Thank you for having us here. So I'm Alessandro, I'm from OBESSU. We are an organization that puts together student, learners and apprenticeship organization at national level from many, many countries in Europe. And so I will try to take the learner's perspective in all this discussion. So when we talk about attractiveness, for me, this practically means that we need to show that TVET is not a second-level learning process, no? This is a very important matter, and it is relevant for many reasons, among which the interest with which the learners are become to be part of the learning process. Because to take an example, in Italy, I feel like at a general level, there is a bit of the perception that, you know, the TVET processes are a bit second level, that you go there as a second choice if you're not able for many reasons to go to high school. And this is why really it is necessary to make sure that we can face this narrative, because this would imply a lot of inequality between the student population, no? Because if the two learning processes are two different level, then also the students, the learners, become two different level, and this has a very, very relevant impact in a lot of matters. And to end up here, because I think we will have a lot of time to discuss on the how, but I really think that this is important because the interest, the engagement level with which a school student, a learner or a student enters any kind of learning process strongly impacts in the way that this learning process is carried on, and impacts, of course, all the interests that are contained in that process. Yeah, this is it for my.
Thank you. So you can keep the mic. So definitely an unattractive TVET has far more great negative impact, and this is non-negotiable. TVET has to be made more attractive. And now let me go back to you, Hannah and Alessandro, because you are very much in touch with the young people, what they want, what they need. So the question is, what do you think is the pull factor for young people to engage in TVET? And if they are engaged, what are the typical challenges that they had to navigate when they choose this track? We can start with you, Alexander.
Okay. Perfect. Regarding pull factors, I would identify two. Number one, I would say is very basic, very obvious, but it's true, necessity. That a lot of young people decide with all another number of matters, but they decide that I want to do TVET because I need to get a job, I need to do this kind of learning process for my personal needs, my personal interests. And so necessity, especially in this moment, I feel like is really one of the pull factors from a good and bad perspective as for how you look at it. The second pull factor that I would identify is a pull factor that sometimes there is, sometimes it can or there should be, and is, we were discussing about before, the interest, the attraction that I have in this kind of process. And on this, I think that I was already mentioning before, it is really something that is mostly originated from the recognition of TVET as a same level learning process, such as also schools or other learning process can be. And this is relevant because, as I was saying before, this means that if TVET is not a second level process, then also its students are not second level students and learners. And this have a very important implication because this means that if you see it this way, then you have to provide a number of elements to the learners in the TVET institution that you already provide or should provide inside the schools or other things. And among these elements, which are many, many elements, I would like to focus on the element of the rights of the learners, which for us is very important. Just a very quick digression, with our organization, we are among the founders of the EAN, the European Apprentices Network, which is a network of many organizations that are active on TVET and apprentices, which is also like joined by the European Commission and many other partners. And in this network, we elaborated like 7.7 priorities to work on regarding TVET, etc. And one of these priorities is a rights-based approach. So I wanted to mention this. Why is a focus on rights rights needed at the moment, because the rights are essential to ensure that certain possibilities, certain freedoms, certain protections, certain elements are actually granted to the learners inside the learning process. No, it's not only about the result of the learning process, about the skills and everything, which is a part of the thing, but it's also about how can I ensure a number of things during the learning process. So this is very relevant for us. And this is a particularly complex matter, even because of the apprentices' double standard, because apprentices are on one side students, because they learn, but on another side they are workers, because they are part of the working process. And so this means that you have to work on this rights approach from a students' and workers' perspective, which makes it more complex, but also more interesting, more challenges. To close with my part, I would like to take very quick examples of like the kind of rights that we believe as learners organization that should be integrated in the TVET institutions. Rights as the right to representation, the right to assembly and to association, the right to appeal against decisions that are considered not good, the right to learn about certain topics, no? The possibility to learn about citizenship education, for example, or sexual education, or other matters that we believe that are relevant for any kind of learner in the world. And also rights as workers, so, you know, right to retribution, which, for example, in Italy is a really big matter, about rights about the work time and the workload and all these kind of things. So, yeah, I wanted to focus on this together with, of course, a number of other things, because I really believe that in many contexts, in very countries, there is a very problematic situation about learners' rights. Like in Italy, a part of TVET institutions are not covered by the rights that are granted to students at national level because of their particular status and things like this. So I think it's a matter in Italy, but also I feel like it is a matter in many other countries. And because of this, I was happy that we managed to discuss this here from a global perspective, because I believe that a global perspective on this can really be useful to, on one side, set common standards about this, and on another side, sort of push, in a good way, of course, the action also at national level, because it is at national level and local level where the legislation is made, and all these things of which we discuss in general terms are actually decided. Thank you, sorry if it was a bit long.
No, this is important, definitely. Welcome, thank you. Anna?
So I think TVET is attractive not only because of the theoretical and practical skills you can develop, but also of the personal growth it can encourage us. You don't just learn to do a job, you discover what you're capable of, and you find new opportunities to grow. I'd like to share a short example from my experience. So in my second year, I joined the international department and become officially part of the BIBB project. And I remember I was just a few weeks in. We had a delegation from the Philippines, and I was asked to do a short presentation about my apprenticeship in the dual VET system. And I felt really unsure because my English isn't that good. And yeah, but I trusted my trainer's belief in me, and I thought, yeah, if they think I can do it, so probably I can do it. And yeah, in the end, I read the most of the presentation from my laptop, but I was still very proud that I did it because I gave my best and I took the chance. And yeah, I think those situations, you not only develop practical skills, but you are also grown in your self-confidence. So as well as my experience as the event manager from the charity project, as my time in the international department taught me that I'm capable of more than I initially thought. For example, presentations in German used to feel very intimidating to me. Yeah, but now it's kind of easy. Yeah. Another important realization that came to me is that working in an international environment matters much more than I thought. So I noticed firsthand that it helps to develop a border, and you grow you became a more global perspective rather than just a national one. Yeah, and when we talk about barriers, I think, when trainees don't have that kind of support that I was lucky to experience, when you don't have a team that stands behind you, when no one encourages you to try, to learn, to make also mistakes, and yeah, it becomes really difficult to grow and learn. And another challenge is when obviously instructors don't respect your limits or don't show interest in your personal developments. Also, when your ideas don't matter or no one cares about your progress, it can be very demotivating. What I also heard from other apprentices is it can be also very demotivating when you're only giving tasks that have nothing to do with your actual training. So you make feel that you are just working and not develop a profession. So yeah, I think having supportive trainers, a respectful team, make really a difference between just finishing a traineeship or truly growing through it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for expressing those experiences, sharing experiences as you work with OBESSU and you first-hand experience as a trainee. Definitely, those are very important. And now let's hear from your training coordinator at BIBB. Alessandro already mentioned a very important theme, which was about global citizenship education, which, if you remember, was at the bottom yesterday. If you were listening to Friedrich's poll, it was at the bottom of the priorities. And this is the reason why we are having this discussion, is to see whether we can still bring that higher on the priority of TVET institution. And you are coming from BIBB with a lot of advocacies around democratic citizenship, global citizenship education. Please walk us through this concept. What does it mean for BIBB, for the context of how you integrate this in the work of BIBB, and how does democratic participation and global citizenship as competency, how do you see this improving or helping really raise the quality of TVET?
Yeah, for me, democratic citizenship means that everyone has a voice, is respected and take part in decisions. It's not only about politics, it's about how we live and work together every day. And democracy in vocational education, it's very important because we work with people from different backgrounds, people with different opinions, and everyone must learn to listen, respect, and to cooperate with each other. In my work, I try to bring democratic ideas to our daily training. Our trainees can share opinions, they can give ideas, they can take part in decisions. One example is that our trainees can plan our events together, like our Christmas parties or our summer activities. And through this, they learn how to discuss with each other and compromise, make collective decisions, like in democracy. Another example is that we at BIBB had a special event series that called Democracy Education. It was a workshop series for all our trainees from different departments. And they learned a lot about participation, respect, democratic values, and they share experience, talked about rights and responsibilities, and it helps them to understand that democracy is not only about voting, it's about how we treat each other every day. Sorry, I lost my words. I have another personal example. I had one trainee who had a mobility disability, and he needed more time and more support. And at first I was unsure how to organize this, but we talked and we find solutions together. And the other trainees helped him. They helped him during the practical work. And yeah, I learned a lot about inclusion and equal chances. And I learned a lot about democratic values like empathy, patience, and listening. And I learned as much from him as he learned from me. And that was a great experience. And he passed his training very well, despite many barriers. And yeah, I'm very proud at him. Democracy also means responsibility. We teach that you work not only for yourself, you work also for the team, for the customers, and for the society. This is also part of sustainability. And when people think about their consequences of their actions, they start act to more responsibly. And democracy improves training quality, and trainees feel more respected and motivated. They share ideas, they work together, and yeah, this creates a great collaboration. Yeah, to sum up, I think democratic citizenship is a skill that can be learned and practiced. We prepare young people not only for the job, we prepare them in a democratic society. It creates respect, inclusion, and cooperation. It helps young people become responsible and confident professionals. And I think it is a strong foundation for quality and sustainability in vocational education.
Thank you so much. So I think that really reinforced the message that global citizenship, peace education applied or integrated in TVET is not just flower to grow on the side. So in the morning, that was a dispute which we are also trying to reinforce today. Now I move on to Dr. Howling. You are with Higher Colleges and Technology in UAE. How does HCT attract young people to TVET professions? Because you are, of course, well known to really focusing on advanced skills development. What are the best practices or blended approaches that work well in terms of advancing higher technical skills development and also promoting global citizenship education at the same time?
So building on what Hannah said, one of the main things is, and Alessandro as well, is the relevance. So all of the programs that are offered with diploma level, and we now have certificate level at level 4, they're all mapped to the job market. So basically, depending on what the forecasts are for employment opportunities, the programs offered at each emirate are based on those figures. So there's immediate relevance where they can see there should be a job opportunity at the end of it. They build up the relationships with industry. There's included work apprenticeship. Industry guest speakers will come in. The curricula is co-designed with industry. So all of it, as has been mentioned over the last 2 days, is designed with industry. So there is that immediate relevance for what students are doing. But there's also a sense of purpose as well, because we've talked a lot about building technical skills, and we do, but it's not just about building the technical skills. People have mentioned about emotional intelligence, about, Hannah said, about the confidence. And if we look at any motivation theories, Deci and Ryan, Bandura's self-efficacy, it's all, they talk about the mastery of skills. They talk about the confidence and the building of competence, the ability to make someone believe in themselves, that they can actually do something, they can achieve something, they get better in a skill. They then become the trainer, they become the peer tutor, they learn from each other. So these skills, yes, they need to be explicitly taught so that they become declarative knowledge to start with. But you need to embed them into the courses until they're procedural. They become a habit. They become just a way of doing something. And to give an example from a language class, when you teach language, that's my background, teaching a lesson on the present perfect. You have your sentences. You ask the question, the student replies. The grammar is perfect. As soon as you go outside of that context and you say, oh, have you been to the US? Yes, I did. 2 minutes ago, they were using the language perfectly, but once you go outside of that context, it's almost the use isn't there. You know, you're not explicitly focusing on it. So it needs to be embedded into everything that is done so that it becomes a force of habit. Students, they learn teamwork, they learn communication, but it's not just about communicating with people from different cultures. Yes, there is that, but there's also the awareness that someone is an introvert or an extrovert. When we teach meeting etiquette, whose etiquette is it? It's very different for the US, where you maybe have low context, versus Japan, which is quite high context. It's also, again, with depending where you are on the introvert-extrovert scale, how do you get those opinions out of people that might not be so confident or forthcoming? Everyone that was at the leadership session earlier on, everything that was talked about there is applicable to TVET education for the students as well. Being aware of how to give your opinion, but also how to receive the opinion from others. The emotional intelligence, giving the feedback that you get from your trainer, your instructor, from your peer, that is a skill in itself, and being able to give feedback as well. With HCT, we follow the competency-based education model. So it is about learning how to do something, how to apply it. We have the theory, we have the knowledge as well, but it's also that application of knowledge. And if you don't succeed the first time, you are given another opportunity to try again. We've moved away from the traditional assessments, the exams, and everything is now about holistic. It's about assessing the students holistically. How can they apply those skills? And it's developing the student holistically as well. As they learn mastery in themselves and they build their confidence, like Hannah said, she didn't believe that she could lead a team one time. But you build that confidence so that then they can cascade it down into peers. You build an ecosystem where people learn from each other. And as I started with, instilling that lifelong learning, once you do, you also, with this intercultural competence, with these communication skills, you have the growth mindset, which is the first step towards agility and being able to change. So everything is linked. If we want students to be successful in their careers, we also need to be successful in themselves as for their community, for their nation, and internationally as well.
Thank you so much for that. I think that really affirmed that it is important to have this holistic approach, not only focusing on technical skills, but whether you are in the training venue, such as Hannah, working in a real workplace or in a college education setting, this needs to be well integrated so that the learners really experience it as part of, as you say, a force of habit, and it becomes integral part of their day-to-day activities, the way they are exposed to the right things, to how they behave, how they really exercise empathy, for example. These are very critical. Now, I just want to remind that we still have online participants, and I heard from our colleague Kara that there are about 150 participants still active. Yes, so we invite you to please post your questions. If you have any questions to our online participants, all our panelists will be happy to answer. And of course, our dear participants in the room, if you have 1 or 2 questions, we will also accommodate that. Now, let me move on to the second part of the panel discussion. So we have been also hearing a lot about several initiatives, frameworks that are now guiding TVET and also higher education. So we have, on the one hand, in Europe, Erasmus+, Horizon 2030, the Union of Skills framework, which Manuela also mentioned yesterday. And through all these frameworks, and I'm pretty sure in ASEAN context, you are also replicating and looking at these as models to define our own framework, for example, in the ASEAN, in the Caribbean region, in Africa. All these developments are really making learners and professionals more mobile. It is making learners collaborative more deeply. And of course, this is affirming the need to learn more globally relevant skills, such as those that you have mentioned, Dr. Howling. And global mobility isn't just about crossing borders. This is also about crossing mindsets, because we really have to see the connections of our actions and the consequence of how we interact with each other. Now the question is, and this is to all of you, how can we amplify global citizenship education? If we see this as important for TVET to become the right path, how can we amplify this as an emerging standard for future-proofing and modernizing TVET systems and profession in the context of those frameworks and the strategies that we have been exposed to now? So I can start with you, Alessandro.
Okay, thank you. So, well, first of all, I would say that if we want to ensure that global citizenship education is something that is present in TVET learning processes, first thing you need, from my point of view, is legislation. Legislation is the thing that can ensure that this thing is actually done at an extensive level and that it does not remain a suggestion that is maybe met in some valid cases, but that maybe in other cases is not met because you are not actually, how can I say, held accountable to do it. No? So legislation is the first thing on this. And from another point of view, I would say that a perspective that can really help the implementation and the valorization of global citizenship education is to see it from a comprehensive point of view. As it was being said before, it's not only about the lesson in which you teach democracy, in which you teach global citizenship education. It's about having a comprehensive approach on this that is something that you can see in various parts of the learning experience. No, you need, like, as I was mentioning before, the fact of granting a right to representation, to assembly, to association to the students. It means that you give the possibility to the students not only to learn in the classroom about certain things, but you enable the learners to practice directly these kind of skills by, as I was saying, having a voice in the decisions of their learning institution, by having the possibility to discuss between each other inside and outside the learning space. So these things are very, very important, and if you can make them concrete with legislation, also by listening to the students, to the single learners, but also, and with this I would like to close, the organizations of the learners. No, is a bit different to hear from a single personal experience and to hear from a structured organization which puts together many experiences. And one of the things we do as an organization, we have many also very concrete proposals, no, about this. We have a declaration of school student and learners' rights, which comprehends also a very specific part on TVET, and all these things are present. So I really think that if we can put at the table and like make these things concrete, it could help a lot, also the matter of having global citizenship education in TVET processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandro.
So I think when we talk about global citizenship education, the best thing we as trainees can do is we can start our apprenticeship with an open mind, and we can learn how our work not only affects us but also other people and our environment. And I remember we had once a workshop at our school for all event management students about sustainability in the event industry, and I think that's a great example how this topic can be implemented in the education. I think as a trainee, as a trainer, or as a company, it's really important first to create an environment where trainees feel supported and motivated to work. And the second thing is to include topics like sustainability, democracy, and global responsibility in the training programs, like we did, for example, with our workshops at BIBB about democracy education. But it's also important, I think, to live these values because it's not very consistent when you talk about democracy and don't live it. So yeah, I think with these approaches, trainees and trainers can create a learning environment where they can not only learn from each other, but also how to make things more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you.
So HCT is leading a co-action initiative about intercultural competence and global citizenship. As I mentioned before, you need to teach the information so it becomes declarative first. So we've talked before about the faculty, and so not just assuming that everybody has the information. Experience helps, but even if you are a third culture kid or if you have lived abroad for your whole life, it doesn't guarantee that you necessarily are aware of other ways of thinking, of other cultures, of things that traditions that may be hidden that you don't know. So we do need to teach it. So that course will be running in December, January time, and an invitation will be sent to all the partners if they'd like to join. So training the faculty on how about awareness, global citizenship, how to embed that into courses. So by opening their own minds, improving their own mindset, then they can cascade it down to the students, see how it can be integrated into the courses, look for opportunities to exploit the teaching, ways that you can integrate it in. So that way, through educating the faculty, cascading it down to the students, and then again, sharing the information. So, and with the initiative, we're working with other partners in Brazil, in Ireland, in Cameroon, and in Gambia. So we have that wide perspective as well to make sure that it's not our own mindset that we are, even though on our team we have people from Turkey and from New Zealand and from the US and Europe. So in ourselves, we're quite diverse, but by expanding the network so that we're all developing it together, we make sure that that diversification is embedded into it.
Wow, that's a very interesting project indeed. Yes, Lisa?
Yeah, from my perspective, global citizenship education is learning to see the world as one connected place. It teaches about global problems like climate change, inequality, and digital change. It helps to take responsibility in our jobs. And at BIBB, I include GCE by talking about sustainability in event planning, like saving materials, reducing waste, choosing local partners, and our trainees learn small decisions can make a big difference for the planet. Another example is that in our democracy education workshop series at BIBB, trainees learn about participation, respect, and fair decision. So they learn GCE is understanding that our actions affect others. It teaches them about responsibility in their future jobs. Yeah, GCE helps trainees become open-minded, responsible, and creative workers. It teaches them that their work is not just local, but part of the global world. And it helps to prepare them not only for the job, it prepares them for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. So definitely amplifying GCE through structured training or collaboration, such as the project on co-action initiative, the BIBB training programs that you are leading, implementing. And of course, what we are hearing from the young people, that if we do it right, they can become ambassadors to really live it and become models for others to really learn from. So that's really very important for us. Now we have 19 minutes to go. And I correct myself, we did not have 75 minutes for this session. Sorry, it's much shorter than that. There is one question from online participants, and I guess this is something that anyone can answer, if you like. Maybe two of you can respond. How do you feel about the wording TVET versus general education versus academic pathway? So I guess that question is about really putting or delineating or making a segmentation between these domains of education. And how do you feel about it when we talk about bringing the prestige of TVET a little bit higher?
So my perspective is maybe a little different because I'm the Executive Dean for the General Academic Requirement Division, which is general studies. But we touch on all of the programs. We have courses in the certificate level, the diploma level, and now our applied bachelor's level. So although we talk about, I know it's not quite the same, general education, but the themes that are an issue that we've talked about the relevance, about the skills, about the need for it to have direction, an outcome, developing those skills, global citizenship as well. Global citizenship should be embedded into all the programs, regardless of the level, regardless of whether you are in academic or vocational or apprenticeship. It's something that should transcend what type of education system that you're in, which type of pathway. To say that one is better than the other is neither here nor there. Everybody has a different pathway. Everybody has different interests, different hobbies, different passions. So to say that one is better over the other, I don't think there's any real relevance for that nowadays. It just depends which one is the right one for you.
Great. Anyone else? Do you feel the same? Yeah, Alessandro can respond.
Well, very, very quickly, I totally agree. The matter on this is that there is not like one learning process that is better or worse than the other one. Is simply difference between the ones. And I feel like also on this I agree very much. The important thing is on one side, identify which are the differences of the various learning processes. And I feel like the main differences are on the, on the specific objectives, because the comprehensive objective is all the same, which is to learn something. Maybe the specific things that you want to learn and the way you want to learn them change between these processes, but there is also a core idea at the bottom, which is the idea of learning, and the idea on learning from our point of view implies a number of other things. Learning is not only learning skills, learning notions, but it's also learning and learning not a given set of things, but is finding your way, in this sense, learning inside the society, inside your community, and this is why a number of things like GCE or also many other topics or rights should be really kept inside the TVET processes as much as other learning processes. This is.
Thank you so much. That question was, of course, asked by Hannah Abdel Salam. Hannah, if you are listening, I hope you're happy, satisfied with the answer. I think what we are getting from here is let's take out the verses. Let's just put a comma, because everything is important in this domain. So, do we have time? Yes, Cara.
Maybe a question from the room. What do you think, in your opinion? Is it too much to add global citizenship education also to your curriculum? Because, of course, you are learning so much already. Your curriculum is quite full. Or do you believe that it is that it brings value, that it is an added value to your formation?
Good. Good question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. I think especially in times like this, where fake news and political conflicts are increasing, we need democracy education more than ever. It helps young people so much to think critically and question where informations came from and learn to be fair and respect each other and in practice. And it helps to solve conflicts and work also better as a team at work. So, yeah, I think it's very valuable. Thank you.
In short, you have still space to learn about it, right? It's important. I see a hand. I don't know. I saw from Gabriel. If we can invite Gabriel, and then we go to Paolo after.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I think just to continue with this conversation, I still feel it goes down to issues of career guidance, because I remember in the morning there was this mention that, for instance, in China we have 12 million graduates who fail to find jobs, and they are switching to TVET for them to get skills that can get them employed. So I would think that if they had been advised correctly, they would not have wasted their time in inverted commas to do higher education or a different pathway. Also, aligning it to the Zambian situation, I mean, we have this common saying where our parents, or parents born, let's say, between the 40s and 60s, they would tell the children, work hard in school, get a good job, and get good pay. But that's not the reality. I think the people who seem now to be doing well are those that finding their skills, they are in TVET, or even doing things like being a YouTube, what do you call it? A YouTuber. Yeah. I know, trying to avoid influencer, but well, it's a YouTuber, and they make a lot of money. So there's a lot to think about. Thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot for that reflection. I can now invite Paulo.
Thank you very much. A very sincere question. As you're young, during the first session, someone mentioned we don't have here influencers to launch the global TVET agenda. It was a joke, but to some extent, I think it's something we need to keep into consideration. I've seen how MasterChef Worldwide has highlighted the role of studies in culinary, tourism, and so on, as well as in arts, music. The role of, I don't know, American Got Talent, Germany Got Talent, X Factor has been crucial. So I'm curious, what do you think as Gen Z or Gen Alpha, what can help, what could help rediscovering the value of TVET, inspire people to this pathway? Could be, I don't know, social media, a podcast, or champions to highlight. What's your idea?
I think, social media is a big part because my generation, and I think also Gen Alpha, is a lot of social media. So I think social media is a good way to promote TVET.
So I know I'm a little bit older, but I'll speak on behalf of my son who has just started university. So we've been talking about data and what we do with data and the decisions we make with data and the programs we offer. But students, young people themselves use that data. My son, when he was choosing which program to study and which university he would study, he got all of the data. It's all readily available. He looked at the rankings, he looked at the programs, he looked at the job offers, he looked at the prospective salaries, he looked at the years, he looked on the return on investment. He's a critical consumer, and I think that the youth nowadays, they have access to that data and can make smart decisions about their own future. If they think that spending £100,000 to go to university and they're not going to get a return on that, then TVET is a very attractive option. If you can study for 2 years, you gain a skill and you get a job almost guaranteed, less investment on the education. It's almost like a shortcut. Why spend extra money on something if you're not going to be guaranteed a job? So young people can make those decisions themselves. They have access to the information. And so that's where, and that comes into the crisis that universities then focus on the rankings and the KPIs, but that's a different conversation for another day. For young people, they can make the decisions on the data that is available to them.
Thank you. Yes, and I can tell you, Paulo, Boreno was not joking when he talked about Shakira as an ambassador. So anyone else who would like to share their experience? If you are already working around this systematic integration of global citizenship education as a means to attract young people to TVET or to higher education, does anyone have an experience in the room that you would like to add, throw in some of your views? Anyone? Nobody?
I'll break the
So-
silence then.
Yes.
Just to say, when our colleague from the Institute in Jordan spoke about, they focus on the soft skills, communication, time management and everything. So global citizenship, really, it's one of the soft skills. It's a mindset that should be the foundation of every education. So rather than integrating it, it should be what is the building block to start upon.
Yes, I absolutely agree, and this is also embedded in the context of our work on education for sustainable development, the Greening Education Partnership that UNESCO has been also advocating for, and we have a colleague here as well from the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning that also emphasize this as an important competence not only for students, but also for communities, for citizens themselves to exercise these competencies as critical for them to be able to interact, to really promote and bring peace, prosperity, and contribute positively to their societies. So these are all very important. So I think we have the last 5 minutes, and I would like to maybe bring back our panelists to just give you your final words, because we've been talking about how all these topics that we are covering during this forum can also contribute to the global TVET agenda. We are on a journey, and I think come 2 or 3 years, we will want to see this agenda really successful. And how do you see this topic of global citizenship, democratic education, and making TVET more attractive beyond employment, beyond the reasoning of employment, but really ensuring that young people have the vision, they have also the ethics, and the right empowerment to be able to proceed. So how do you feel this contributing to the agenda of global TVET moving forward? Let's start with you, Lisa, and then we finish with Alessandro.
Yeah, of course. I would like it to connect this with the first question over there. Honestly, I think democracy isn't a nice extra. It's the part of our life. And we teach young people how to work, right? So we teach them to listening, to respect each other, how to work with each other, and to speak up. And if we only teach the job skills and not the soft skills, we create good machines, but not good professionals. And I think that's a big point that makes the vocational training attractive.
Thank you, Lisa. Let's give a round of applause to Lisa for her contributions to this panel. Dr. Howling, please.
So coming back to something that just off tangent for a minute that Gabrielle mentioned about how to TVET, it's not really that attractive. Academics are, but that's only in the last maybe 30, 40 years. Before then, we had a lot of vocational institutes. We had polytechnics in the UK. And then through marketing, a lot of those polytechnics were closed down. And the marketing was excellent. Parents were told, your child needs to go to university in order to invest in their future. That marketing was so successful that everybody now goes to university and the market is flooded. So if we were able to do marketing that well back then we can easily reverse it. And we have even better marketing techniques now. We have social media. We have like young people as influencers. So if we could market it that well 40 years ago, I'm sure that we can remarket it when people see the live results from people that are coming back. So sorry, that was off on a tangent.
Thank you, Dr. Howling.
I really would mention again that it is really important for us trainees that we have supportive trainers and a respectful team, and that we can take take tasks and be responsible. And I think that's really important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Wonderful.
Thank you. So, as final things, I would say that it is very important that some of the things, that most of the things that we discussed today, like global citizenship education, are actually included in TVET processes. And to do this, I really would like to remark how important it is to collaborate with the learners and the students in this. It's not just about listening, it's actually about sitting at the table together, discussing about deciding together, which is a bit more complex than just listening with the learners, with their organization, their representatives, how we can implement these kind of things. But I really think that if we can do this, we can have a very big impact, because I think that there are many elements, such as like the marketing we were saying, the influencers, etc., that can influence the tendencies, but they are not, how can I say, able to invert the tendencies, while something like a real dialogue and joint decision with the youth, the learners, and their organization is really an element that, in my opinion, is something that can not only influence, but really invert the tendencies that we want to influence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alessandro. Another round of applause. It has been a pleasure having this conversation with you all. Thank you so much. And I think this kind of conversation is a testament that we do want to hear the views of the learners. We are very happy that this initiative is going to take forward the theme of global citizenship education as an important agenda. And maybe 2 years later, we will see where we are with the poll, if global citizenship education would still be at the bottom. Hopefully not.